Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's great to see you all, and thanks so much for your patience. I want to lead this off by apologizing that once again it's been such a long wait. I was dead set on covering every single event of this season with its own proper video, and here we are in November, and this is really the first video covering any of these events. So I apologize. This is really a situation of my own making. These weekends can be very stressful, long days, short nights. And then once everything is finally cleaned up and back in storage and you're all done with the weekend like that, you just want to lay low for a day and recover. And last thing that you want to do is go and edit video. So I apologize that I'm only getting around to this now. Here you see some footage of us moving from our winter storage place to a storage unit that we rented that is a little closer to town. Getting ready for the summer season. And as far as the season itself goes, we had a lot of events this summer, and once again we're dealing with lots and lots of highs and lows. As far as the highs go, particularly I want to highlight the catering events that we did this year. The private catering events at parties, birthday parties, and christenings and that sort of stuff. You might have seen an earlier video I posted in May that covers such an event in detail. And we did several more of those, and I really enjoy these type of events. You see, when one of these weekend events where you serve lots of people, like public events, and we do 2,000 portions in a weekend, the kind of dilemma that I'm faced with there oftentimes is if such an event is going great, then that means that you're moving lots of product, but you only have very little time for each and every customer, something like 10 seconds. And if the weekend event is not going great, you might have lots of time for your client, but you're not making any money at the end of the day. So there's always, you can only have one of those two, I feel like. And the private catering events, the great thing about them is that you are moving enough product that the weekend is, or the day is profitable, but you also have that time to build a personal connection with the client. And that makes these events really rewarding for me. As far as weekend public events go, I want to let my 6 months younger self explain a little bit about one of them, because it's pretty emblematic of many of these weekends events we had and a lot of the struggles that came with that.
Good morning, guys. It's bright and early here. It's actually already day 2. Yesterday was so stressful that I kind of forgot about the camera altogether. It was one of those days where just whatever could go wrong went wrong in the morning. This location where we're set up here is a event location that is used both day and night. So yesterday night there was still a party on when we arrived here early in the morning, and the bouncers wouldn't let us in, and then we were late for our schedule cooking the beef, and had a little sauce spill incident, and the whole morning was just, you know, getting up at 4:30, and that was just stress. But then eventually we got all set up around noon here, and the crowd started pouring in, and we were pretty we were maxed out for a couple hours there. And then yeah, one of those things. I mean, we didn't expect that much from this event. It's the first time we're here. It's the first time they're hosting this, so who knew how many people were going to be here? And we just weren't prepared for the amounts of people we had. So we sold out around 4. Took a couple hours to catch up with the cooking, and then we could sell some more. But today we're back, and we're cooking more beef, and we're hoping that people are going to come back for us. The weather unfortunately is not going to be as stable today. Yesterday we had perfect sunshine here, and so we're hoping for the best, and I'll catch you later. So one thing I want to show you guys is this little fan here, kind of the newest addition to the rig. I had talked about that in the refit video, but now it's up and running, and it is working perfectly. So this is a little computer. It's a fan from the computer section on Amazon, and we installed it on this duct here, and it is blowing air into the firebox. Again, whenever we had trouble getting the fire going, we used to work with the hair dryer, and that thing used to keep melting. So This is a more permanent setup here, and we wanted to have it offset on one side so that it would be out of the brunt of the heat, because I mean it's made from plastic, and it's working really well. The airflow is not too strong, so you can kind of leave it on for a while and it just keeps the temperature up nicely around 275, 280. Also, when we started the fire, we have our little chimney for the coals. We set it right onto this thing and it gets the coals started in five minutes or less. Absolutely perfect. If you have any questions about this installation, let me know in the comment section.
So as you heard right there, one of the challenges we keep facing is not knowing how much beef to cook in advance. So the difficulties in forecasting exactly what your revenues or portion count of the day is going to be. And of course, weather is one of the really big issues in this regard. Weather is really hard to forecast, especially here in Germany. You can have rain and thunderstorms pretty much any time of year. So that really made it hard on some of these weekend events. Also, events like that are hosted for the first time, you really don't know what to expect. So you're taking a little bit of a risk there. And then one of the continued challenges that we face is getting the right kind of brisket in Germany. And I get a lot of questions on that in the comment section, and I really don't have the perfect answer to that. The way we kind of work around this difficulty, because it really is difficult getting kind of US spec brisket in Germany. And to kind of work around that, we work with several different suppliers, but they're dealing with the EU import quotas, they're dealing with world market prices. So oftentimes they will just not have what we need in stock, or not have it in the quantity that we need, or not have it at the price point that we can work with. So we're dealing with different suppliers, and they're buying different sorts of meat, so different brands. We worked with 8 different brands of beef this year, and there's a lot of difference or variety in quality between these different brands. And you may not have any time to prepare for that. So you show up at an event and you unpack that first brisket and you realize, oh, that's very different from what we cooked last weekend. And you kind of have to adapt. And you do get better at it the more experience you have. But this is it continues to be a challenge, because obviously the client expects a consistent quality at the end of the day. And to ensure that consistent quality, you have to jump through lots of hoops to make sure that no matter the input, your output stays the same. So that really is one of the big challenges in this business. Hey there. A little bit of a different setting for an announcement I would like to make. Actually, 2 announcements. One a little more minor and the other one more major. The first one is that the other day I had a very pleasant conversation with Dean Martin of the Perfect BBQ podcast. And we talked about the history of Taste of Texas, how we came up with the idea, how it kind of progressed to actually doing the food truck, and kind of lessons learned along the way. And it was a really, really good conversation. I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested. The other one is a little more major, and it goes back to what I explained earlier, the continuing challenges that we face with the food truck. And I should probably explain that this food truck thing was never meant to be permanent. It was supposed to be a test or a trial period in order to learn the lessons necessary to turn this into a successful restaurant. And I'm pretty convinced that would alleviate many of the issues that I outlined before. Namely, weather. You're not so dependent on the weather. If you have a fixed location, people know where to find you, and there's a roof over your head. 2, you're calling your own shots. You're no longer dependent on the organizer of an event to promote it properly. You sort of have the same competition all the time. There's no variables on that front. And then biggest of all, the meat supply. If you start moving that beef in more quantity, you start buying in larger sizes, eventually maybe full containers, you could import directly from the United States. And that would make this all a lot smoother. And you no longer have all these variables in quality. that I discussed before. So kind of at the end of the season, the three of us, there's three people, three partners here involved with Taste of Texas, we kind of sat down and say, how are we going to go forward from here? And I know that many of you really want the best for us. I always appreciate the kindness that I find in these comments. It's really quite amazing. And something that you would probably like to see and that we were really hoping was going to happen is us turning this into a restaurant. And there were several points in time over these 3 years where we were looking at a specific property. We actually put in bids, forced properties, where we thought this would be a great place to start our own restaurant. But more recently, for all three of us, kind of our personal circumstances have changed in a way that the investment, both in time and energy, but also in financial resources that a restaurant like this would need to become successful is, all three of us feel like that would be a little above our heads at the moment, or would be a little too heavy of a burden at this particular point in time. So we were kind of discussing alternatives, and we were really, I mean, this is our baby. This is our a project that is very close to our hearts, and we would love to see this come to this fruition and become this restaurant. So we ended up making the decision that we were going to try to find someone else to turn this into a restaurant. And as hard as that is to make this announcement, we're going to put Taste of Texas up for sale. And we kind of created this sales proposal with all the information outlining everything I just said and outlining the specifics of the offer. It is both in German and in English. And again, I'll put a link in the description below so you can read that. If you are overseas, probably it's not really that interesting to you because like our supplier contacts and spots at certain events for next year and all that wouldn't be so interesting to you. You're probably better off building your own rig. And I would support you in that spiritually and with all the information we put out in our earlier videos as much as I can. But if you are based in Europe or even in Germany, or know people that are based in Germany or in Europe and we're looking into building a restaurant or starting a restaurant, or maybe already own a restaurant and are looking to expand, then please feel free to forward this to them. And we would love to hear from people who are interested or who would like to know more. And hopefully see this dream of mine become a reality in one form or another. I want to close this by thanking you guys, because this kind of journey over the past 3 years has been absolutely amazing. I never expected much from this YouTube channel. And to see some of these videos, the first one I think is close to 500,000 views. And that's just incredible, this kind of feeling to know that something that we did was helpful to other people. That is an incredible pleasure for me to know that. I love hearing from you guys, so post any thoughts or questions or whatever you might have in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. From the heart, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.